Thanks, Rika, for confirming. Just couple more minutes and we'll start today's session. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this masterclass on AI, generative AI, and agentic AI, shaping the leadership for the future. Uh, so, as experienced professionals, we know, right, leadership is evolving, and what worked 5 years ago is no longer enough. So, with AI, Gen AI, and now agentic AI entering the core of business operations, leaders need to go beyond digital transformation and lead with AI fluency and strategic foresight, correct? So, that's exactly what we will explore today. Leading today's conversation is Mr. Shyam Venkatesh, Director of Architecture in the fintech industry, with over 17 years of experience in cloud architecture, AI, ML, and automation. Sham has been, at the forefront of enabling AI-driven innovation at scale. So he'll be answering all your questions today. And please note this, no question is too big or too small. Ask as many questions as possible. And without further ado, let's get started. Sham, over to you.
Thank you, Lakshana. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. So, hope everyone is excited to, go through this exciting topic, right? Which is AI, Gen AI, and Agentic AI. I believe this audience is more of a leadership kind of a cohort, right? Where you are responsible for taking some decision making within your respective organization, right? So we'll be, addressing and inclining our discussions more towards leadership in this hour as we go, right? While I get going, folks, one request will be, I see about 20 of us and few more joining, right? So if you can quickly let me know about yourself, like what's your current role, and if you're okay to reveal your organization name, please put that on the chat, right? At least let me know what's your current role, so we can kind of weave this discussion around the domain specific, and maybe cite more examples and use cases around your own domain, right? So that's the whole intention. If you can put your name and your current role, that will be fantastic, right? So great. Again, welcome all of you, right? So we'll kick off this discussion with talking about the AI revolution, right? Across the industrial eras, right? So what has happened is, if you notice, human, evolution has been focused around solving problems, right, through generations. We had Industry 1.0 in the late 18th century, where the core innovation was around steam engines and mechanization, right? And what did we solve? We solved for manual labor, and we solved for productivity constraints, right? We came up with innovations like weaving looms, water steam powered mills, right? And what was the impact, right? It transformed the agricultural society, and we kind of set the stepping stone for the manufacturing hubs, right? So in the late 19th century, the mass production began, right? So Industrial Revolution 2.0, where we looked at how do we scale, how do we speed, how do we standardize, right? An example could be Ford's assembly line, right? So how reducing the time to manufacture a car, right, was reduced drastically. So this gave an birth to consumer economy, right, and global trade. And then in the mid 20th century, we had automation and computing, right, where it was more focused on computers, electronics, programmable logic controllers, and what we tried to solve, how we can reduce human errors, how we can reduce inefficiencies, right? So this was basically the rise of digital industries. And then in the 21st century, we had data connectivity, more about IoTs, cloud computing, a little bit of early AI, I can say, right? So here we came up with predictive maintenance, sensor data, installed in factories. So it led to like real-time monitoring, supply chains, smart factories, right? So excuse me, pretty good. It was a quantum leap there, right? So now and beyond is where we are in Industry 5.0, which is which is centered around human-centric AI, right? So we are talking about Gen AI, we're talking about human-machine collaboration, we are talking about ethics-aware system, right? Governance-aware systems. So what were we trying to solve here, right? So every generation, as you see, we have tried to solve problems. This generation in Industry 5.0, we are trying to solve how we can do creative augmentation, how we can do decisive intelligence, how we can do personalization at scale, right? Take, for example, healthcare, how AI is diagnosing diseases from scans through, maybe better than a radiologist, right? Take, for instance, retail, right? How AI is creating personalized marketing content. In seconds, we can generate a marketing campaign, uh, very personalized to, set of audience, right? Take for example enterprises, how co-pilots are assisting in coding, how content is being generated, communications are being generated, legal docs are being generated and summarized, right? So what's the impact? We are moving from productivity to more creativity. We are moving from productivity to more empathy, governance, risk, sensitivity, and things like that, right? And what's happening? Tech is what is empowering here, right? So tech is not replacing anything, right? Tech is not taking anyone's job, but there is a replacement happening, right? And we all as leaders need to acknowledge that and be able to take away certain things. And what's this takeaway, right? So we are talking about how we moved away from physical effort to more to cognitive overload, right? And AI is now augmenting this human intelligence, right? It's not just automating task, right? Like what Lakshana was referencing, and the winners in this era, in this Industry 5.0, will be those who can rethink their process, their business process, and reimagine what business value they can get using this tech, right? But not just digitizing, that's all done, but now how you can leverage these AI, how you can take it, over and above the automation, right? Is the era that we are talking about, right? And I see Kanika, Ramesh, and Rajneesh. Thank you for that, intro. It gives me a good sense of the audience that we are addressing today. Thank you. Right. So the elephant in the room, what is AI, right? So AI, most of you would already know, these are basically systems or machines that can simulate human intelligence, right? So it can perform tasks, it can iteratively improve themselves based on the data that they have been trained on, right? Simply put, AI is the ability of machines to think, learn, make decisions just like a human, but maybe faster, right? And maybe at a bigger scale, right? And we have seen a lot of different types of AI, right? So there is the narrow AI or narrow intelligence, right, where it's mostly targeted to perform one single task very well, and all of us are familiar with this, right? So things like Google Map, right? What it can do, it can help you take you from one place to another, right? And along the way, it can add some smartness, it can add some intelligence, and resolve some pain points, right? The face ID mapping, right? So like a face detector in your front cameras, right? Or smartphone cameras, chatbots. These are targeted to perform one task very well, and this is artificial narrow intelligence. This is very much prevalent in our world today. Day in and day out, we come across a lot of such applications, such use cases, which we are consciously and unconsciously using, right? There's another type of AI called general AI, right? And this is something like a human level reasoning, right? It is across task. It is more futuristic, right? And just so you know, this is not yet achieved, right? This is just a theoretical concept. A day will come when machines will have human level reasoning, right? And it will be across task and very futuristic, right? So that is general AI, a very very visionary kind of a concept. And then there is the generative AI, right, which we are all hearing about. It's been a buzz, but it's no more a buzz because it's almost a reality, right? What Gen AI can do, it can create new content, it can create text, it can create images, it can create code. The likes of ChatGPT, the likes of DALI, GitHub Copilot, Claude Anthropic, right? Perplexity, Grok, right? So all these are what is built on what we call as Gen AI, right? And what powers this is the large language model, right? And if time permits, we can talk a little bit about large language model. But we're talking about AI, the types of AI. Why does it really matter to you, to business, right? One, because the speed. AI can automate tasks that took hours. It can do that in seconds. It can scale. It can handle millions of data points without fatigue, right? And there is the insights that you can get, right? AI can look at data and it can find patterns. It can predict anything that a human might have missed, right? An anomaly, right, is what it can detect and provide you that insight. It can help you with creativity. It can write marketing copies, it can design logos, it can draft legal documents, right? So it's basically like your smartest analyst. It's your fastest writer, and it's the most accurate assistant, which is available 24/7, 365 days. It can work across departments. Imagine that, right? So so definitely AI has an impact. It's revolutionizing leadership as we see today, right? So we are at this inflection point, right, where AI is not just a technology trend, right? It's not just a fad, right? It is a strategic shift that's reshaping how we as leaders think, how we decide, and how we lead, right? So I'll just take a pause here, and I know some of you have put down your intro. Thank you for that. But others, please do that. At the same time, please put your questions on chat, right? No question is a silly question, right? So ask anything related to AI, and I'll try to answer that as best as I can, right? Great. And please don't wait till the end. The moment you have something, anything top of your mind, feel free to put that on the chat and we can have a discussion around that. Right? Now let's see how. AI is revolutionizing relationship. I mean, we have been leadership and how it is how leadership is being transformed, right? If you remember, right? So we have been doing taking decision. And when this all started out, IT was maturing, and software deliveries were almost a day-to-day thing, right? The decisions that we used to take was mostly gut based, right? But today it is more data augmented, right? We don't have to rely on experience, we don't have to rely on intuition, right? Because AI provides real-time insights, scenario modelings. It can give you predictive analytics. It can do A/B testing and simulate scenarios, right? It's faster, it's better informed decisioning, right, rather than just some gut-based decisioning. And you can measure your outcome, right? Which used to be mostly a stroke of luck, or it could be more speculative in the olden days, right? So we moved away from command and control to how we can collaborate in machines, right? So you remember we used to issue command instructions to machine and it used to follow, but now we are able to collaborate, right? So leaders are using Gen AI to like summarize executive memos, right? Product ideas and things like that, right? So I'll just take a few questions on the chat. How can I build AI agent? Because we'll get to the topic in 10 to 15 minutes, right? So we'll talk about AI agent. We'll introduce what is AI agent, right? So everyone is on the same page, and we can see what it takes to build an AI agent. I'm sure you'll agree when I say I cannot teach you how to build an AI agent in the next 40 minutes or so, but at least we'll make an attempt to understand what it takes to build an AI agent. So this person wants to start career in AI. Yes, so we'll talk about how you can, take advantage of this program. Great Learning has. It's basically for leaders. If you are one of those who are responsible for making decisions within an organization, if you are have that executive mindset, right? Then this program will be for you. We'll talk about that. You don't need to have any kind of programming background and any kind of data statistical background. We will talk about this program, which has boot camp, and how it can get you like a launch pad to the careers within AI. Right, Rekha, thank you. Rekha is a freelancer. Thanks for that introduction. Right. So yes, so definitely AI has a huge impact. We have moved from job roles to more skill-based workforces. Right now, we are AI-driven upskilling is happening across organization. We have moved away from risk averse to more how we can govern AI innovation, right? So nobody's asking why AI these days, right? So people are asking how can we use AI, right? Where can we use, right? So as leaders, you have to start shifting your mindset from how you can optimize the present to how you can design the future, right? How you used to delegate to a software or a machine to how you can partner with AI, right? How knowing answers to how can you ask better questions, right? So that's the call for action. Basically for AI, I know people are asking about agentic AI, but before we get there, if you want to do AI well, right, then you need to start experimenting boldly, right? Because AI rewards those who learn fast, right? Invest in talent, right? So you need to be well versed in skilled talent, right? So AI fluency is something all organizations are looking for, and it should start from leaders, right? And how you can lead with ethics, right? So all AI is there, all that. How we can use these Industry 5.0 and beyond, right, to build more trust that will define your long-term impact to your business, right? So this is one punchline I generally give to all my sessions. AI is not going to replace leaders, okay? But leaders who use AI will replace those who don't use. Okay, so I'll repeat: AI will not replace leaders, but leaders like yourself who will use AI will replace those leaders who don't, right? So that's the truth, and we have seen a lot of examples, right? So with that, let's switch gears and talk about Gen AI, right? Now, Gen AI, like I said, has been making a lot of buzz, but what is it? It's a type of AI, right? What it can do is it can create new content. It can create text for you. It can create images, audios, video, and even code. And how is it doing based on the data it has learned from, right? So what is this what is that which is trained? What is that which learns? Is this what we call as large language model? And why the large language model is because it's been trained with a huge amount of data, right? Almost the whole of publicly available internet data, right? You talk about millions of ebooks, right? Millions and billions of Wikipedia pages, public websites, right? And many more, right? So it's been trained. It takes few months to even train, all these data, and it takes a lot of cost. It's very cost intensive, very capital intensive. That's why only big organizations do that. Huge GPUs, right? Data centers of GPUs, right, were provided by Nvidia, right? The G hundreds, right? So those kind of chipsets are used in stacks, in racks, right? In like thousands of racks, and they are used to train and right these models. And once they are trained, we use this model with a lot of wrappers on top of it, right? It could be a chat GPT, right, which uses a generative pre-trained transformer. Now, what's a pre-trained transformer? Obviously, I may not be able to explain that in this next 30 minutes, right? So you need to go through the structure process of what is data, what is, supervised learning, and what is, natural language processing, what is tokenization, what is encoding, right? And then how transformers are using context and, tokenization to be able to, understand the comprehension, right? And that's what ChatGPT is based on, right? And these Gen AIs, what it can do, it can write articles, it can write emails, reports, product descriptions. You go to ChatGPT or Jasper, it can do that for you. You go to Dali or Midjourney and ask it to design an artwork or a logo or a marketing visual, it can do that for you. You go to Synthesia and ask to generate music, it can do that for you. It can generate talking avatars, right? Go to GitHub Copilot and ask for code snippets, and it'll spit out code snippets, right? It can do app generation, right? And why does Gen AI matters? Because of productivity, right? So it can, you can automate your repetitive tasks like report writing, summarization, meeting notes, right? It's basically freeing up your time for higher value work, for strategic work, right? And it can personalization at a very fast rate. It can customize emails, right? So you have a e-commerce company, or you're basically into some kind of retail or commerce, right? It can respond to customer. It can send personalized replies, right, over emails. It can generate ads. It can generate documents for millions of users instantly, right? So it's an innovation booster, right? Because of Gen AI, a lot of new innovations have come in areas and pockets where we didn't even imagine it to be, right? So why it matters for you as leaders? One, because it's creating value, it's giving productivity gains, right? It's helping you make smart decision making. It's scalable. There's innovation, right? So it's basically, like for example, one of the organization we work with, the chief marketing officer used Gen AI to test 100 ad variations, right, that they were given by the ad agency and across regions, right? And they were all automated, they were all localized, right? And that was only possible because of Gen AI, right? And also, we need to be careful about governance, risk, and ethics. And these are the things you as leaders have to be extremely cautious about, right? So, Gen AI has been there, and of course, your organization will also adopt it, if not now, sometime very near future, right? So, it introduces new risk, right? Like IP leaks, hallucinations, bias, right? How you as leaders can champion, the governance, how you as leaders can look at transparency of these Gen AI models, how you as leaders can ensure the responsible usage of these Gen AI models, right? So that's where the expectation from the leadership community will be, right? So, like I said, we are moving away from should we use AI to where can Gen AI create outsized value, right? So, we're moving away from efficiencies to more innovation. How we can do speed, how we can execute accelerated way, right? So how can you do Gen AI, right? Now, I know there was agentic AI, but we talked about how you can do AI. Now, if we talk about how can we start Gen AI in your own space, right? So I would say start with some high impact but low risk use cases, right? Like for example, associate experience, right? So those are some use cases you can target and try to execute that. Try to see what is the best practices, right? How you can bring MLOps, how what whether you want to do a buy versus a build, right? Whether you want to have your own data breaks kind of a feature set, or do you want to build a feature set dynamically every time, right? So these are some of the decisioning and maturity and evolution that you as organization will go through, right? And let's say you're doing this very well and you are seeing some success stories, upskill your leaders, which is why I believe most of you are here, right? You want to have AI fluency in your strategic assets who are your leaders, right? Then build a governance model, right? So because risk will definitely outpace, right? So it will go out of control. So how do you have controls in place, right? And promote a culture of innovation, experimentation, right? Don't expect perfection, right? Because no AI model will give you 100% accuracy, right? It will give you let's say it was able to classify a document for you. It will give you the confidence score, and keep a threshold, right? The confidence score could be let's say out of 5, it could be 4, it could be 4.5, it could be 4.6, right? So keep a lower threshold to begin with, and slowly make the thresholds more and more, conservative, right? So Suman asked, how about data security while using Gen AI? Do we have to invest more? See, that's a good question, and that's where there's a trade-off, right, Suman? So as long as you're using judgment, right, while use Gen AI, you should be good, right? If you're using a vendor provided Gen AI solution, right? Like for example, you're using Microsoft Copilot, right? Or you're using Gemini from Google, right? Or you're using ChatGPT from OpenAI. So obviously, don't give your business data. You don't give your customer data, right? So that's thumb rule, right? I don't think that's any exception to anybody, right? So that's how you can definitely safeguard your data. But if you see a real use case, right, then there are so many architectures available, right? Like for example, there is something called RAG architecture, retrieval augmented, generative AI, right? RAG AI. So you have a large language model, which is a pre-trained model. You can download it from Hugging Face, open source somewhere, and you can start using your own data set, right, which can power the responses provided by your Gen AI model, right? And using that with very little cost, very little effort, right, you can start building your own Gen AI ecosystem. The language part is provided by your Gen AI model. The information, the knowledge part comes from your own data source, which is still within your network, within your organization, right? So that way, with these architectures, you can take advantage of Gen AI. You will still be able to, do great automation, great innovation, right? And that's where you can start investing. And the investment here is more around skilling, upskilling, right? Because the cost is almost zero. The data is already there. It could be in your Postgres, it could be in your own data stores within your network, right? Large language model, open source, just download it, right? So the investment is in upskilling, which is where programs like this come into help. So um, yeah, before we get into agentic AI, I just want to spend a little more time here because there's good traction and good interest around this, right? How you can integrate Gen AI into your organizational fabric, right? So this is what some of you have been asking, right? So one is, implementation, execution, the technicality is all fine, but does it align to your strategy, right? So can you link Gen AI to business goals? Can you identify strategic priorities, right? Is it productivity? Is it innovation? Is it personalization? Or is it cost efficiency, right? And then identify a use case and evaluate this use case, right? It could be a marketing use case or a HR use case or a product use case, right? Finance use case, even an IT use case, right? And define your success metrics. What is the time save that you are looking at by doing Gen AI? What are the costs you are avoiding? What is the revenue uplift you're getting, right? Your board of directors, your C-suite, leaders, senior leadership will definitely be interested in these three things. What's the time save? What are the costs you are avoiding? What's the revenue uplift, right? And if there is an experience enhancement, right? If you are improving your customer experience or even your associate experience, that can be like the cherry on the top, right? So it's basically your outcome should be looked at how you can adopt AI, Gen AI, and how you can measure business outcomes. And don't just limit this to experiments. You should experiment, but at the same time, start thinking how you can align and execute these use cases, right? Then look at your portfolio, right? So start creating a portfolio, like how you might have a productivity enhancer, right? So you something that drafts emails, something that summarizes meeting notes, right? Or it could be creative accelerators, right? Like design variations or things like that, right? So create a portfolio, right? And then I would say build a tech stack, right? Very important. Build a tech stack and also infrastructure, right? So choose whether you want to do a build or a buy or a hybrid approach, right? For foundational models, there's OpenAI, Anthropic, Mistral, right? So try to first do a buy or a hybrid, right? And then come up with some modular tools, right? How you can have prompt orchestrations, right? How you can have guardrails, how you can like because some of these Gen AIs can output toxic data, so you need to have filters in place, right? You might be the use case might be for a very sensitive kind of a group, right? So you need to have better filters in place, right? How would you monitor these models? How would you have feedback loops, right? So all these needs to be think through. Let's say you already have a CRM or a ERP, right? How would you integrate Gen AI into that, right? So start thinking about the tech stack and infrastructure. Then, of course, governance, risk, and ethics you need to think about. But where you can add impact is the people and change management, right? So come up with Gen AI literacy boot camps, right? How you can have role specific co-pilots, right? And incentivize, if there's innovation, experimentation, in this area, right? So and sponsor this heavily if possible, right? So that's how I would say, for you to get started with Gen AI. Otherwise, for your day-to-day productivity, all these are definitely out there. You can use Perplexity and all these tools for your own productivity. There's Notebook LM, another fantastic tool which I been using these days. You can again, it uses RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generative Framework. You can hook up to, let's say, a PDF or a huge document, right? And you can start asking questions. It has a comprehensive model, and it can start answering that for you, right? So organizations who use Gen AI, right? So like, I think a lot of people are already using Gen AI, conversational AI, right? So most of the organization, if you go, earlier chat bots was very common, but now it's all AI powered, right? Any retail, any e-commerce website that you go, on the bottom there's a chat bot which uses Gen AI. Right, a lot of marketing, lot of creative, right? Organizations are using Gen AI, right? Creative jobs are, nowadays very less because Gen AI is doing that. But the pioneers are very few, Suman, right? So because these is all capital intensive, the likes of Microsoft, the big fours, right? The Facebook, Google, X is doing Grok these days, right? Otherwise, some very promising companies like Claude, they are doing Anthropic AI. There is also Perplexity, which is Facebook, anyways, right? So yeah, so a lot of people are coming, but mostly it's the big fours, right? They are pioneering, because it's limited. You need a lot of infrastructure, you need a lot of capital and money to do this, right? And imagine training them, right? And training is not simple. This is one, you have to train them as unsupervised data, right? And then you have to convert them to like a semi-supervised or a supervised kind of a data, right? Where you have labels for all the data. Like for example, the large language model is being trained on a Wikipedia page, let's say, which is Fibonacci series. Okay, now it has to add labels to that, right? That's where the semi-supervised thing comes, right? So all these need some very efficient, state-of-the-art models, right? And which these companies have been working for ages, and they don't open source these models. They will open source the pre-trained model, right? That's where a lot of the niche work comes in, right? So that's where these companies are pioneering. So that takes us to the next topic, which is AI agent, right? Now, what are AI agents, right? So AI agents are autonomous systems, right? So they can perceive, they can reason, they can act, and they can learn over time, right? And why do you use AI agent to accomplish task with almost no human intervention, right? Then you might ask me, how is this different from tools like ChatGPT, right? Um, they're different because they take initiative. What do I mean by that? So AI agents can handle multi-step task, right? Like for example, I need to, let's say, present something on something on let's say pizza making, right? So what are the different types of pizzas, right? Let's make up that example. Now I don't know anything about pizza making, right? And the history of that and all that, right? So what I can do, I can have a agent which can do the research work for me, right? It will look up the public sources. It will try to get the history of the pizzas. It will try to get the history of, let's say, how pizzas evolved, region by region, how it differs, right? And in the current day context, what is trending, right? Like a sourdough or whatever, right? So it'll give me, that agent is dedicated to do the research. And once it does the research, there's another agent, right, which does the task of summarizing that research. And there's another agent which will draft a speech or an essay right? About all these research, right? And I will have one more task which will review this, right? And it will look for some corrections, it will look for fluency, it will look for toning, right? The audience, is this, messaging, is this sentence, chiming with the kind of audience that it will be addressed to, right? And maybe instead of agent, it might be a human in the loop there, right? So you had an agent which does the task of researching, you had an agent which does the task of summarizing, you had an agent which does the task of drafting, and then there's a human who's reviewing it and providing feedback, right? And then the whole iteration continues, right? So this could be an excellent example of agent AI agent, right? Now maybe I reviewed and then finally I found satisfactory, right? The essay is pretty good now. Now I need to email it out to 25 people, right? So there can be another agent which does the task of emailing them, right? Now I need to, let's say, present this to in a all hands meeting or something like that, right? So it will send a calendar invite to all those people, blocking their calendars, getting their RSVPs, right? You see, there is a multi-step planning, there is a memory, there's a learning, there's feedback loop, there's autonomous, right? Almost no human intervention. So that's how agentic AI differs from passive Gen AI tools like ChatGPT. Yeah, great. Suman has a follow-up question. Given they are into finance, how do they mitigate data privacy? So yeah, like these big fours, they are using Gen AI, they're using their own Gen AI, right? So their data is not publicly exposed, right? So I cannot go to Gen AI and ask for what is the salary of a CTO within, Meta, right? So those data are not public, right? So definitely they use to maybe understand how they can keep up with the market, what is the 90 percentile hiring or compensation around that role and things like that, but the data itself still exists within the big four, right? They're never public, right? And let's say we are using the models provided by these big fours. Again, these are pre-trained models, they might have data, but they are not sensitive data, and let's hope to most extent they are not sensitive data or critical data or a customer PII, personally identifiable information data, right? So we need to augment this Gen AI, large language models to augment them to provide our data, right? And unless you are highly mature in delivering Gen AI use case and projects, right? You should start with a more low risk and high impact use cases, right? Start with associate experience, start with how you can let's say summarize emails, summarize meeting notes, right? And those kind of things. How you can come up with fun banners, right? How you can come up with some kind of wordle for your or some kind of fun quizzes, right? So that's where you can start and slowly mature, right? Yes, data security is the key, right? So no way you can discount that, Suman. That is the central thing around our architecture when we build either AI or Gen AI or agentic AI. It's always kept in mind, because these are all, bells and whistles. But what is intrinsic, what is more critical to the business is data security, right? So that can never be discounted, right? So I'll give you some more examples of agentic AI, maybe that will ring some bells, right? Let's say you have your telecom company, and this is a customer support team, right? Now you try to build a customer support agent, right? So what this agent will do, whenever there is a query, it will pull information from internal systems, right? So maybe one agent does that, and then there is another agent which updates the task, right? And there's and also how you can escalate only if needed, right? So if an agent wants to escalate, it can do that, right? So basically it's like a customer support agent. Okay, now let's say there is a marketing campaign agent. right? So here you it can generate campaign ideas, right? And for each ideas, right, it can create different visuals, right? And for those visuals, it can write ad copies, it can add captions, right? And it can add, let's say you're making it more visual or more video, it can add captions to that, right? And then you can test that, like how this ad will impact someone sitting in the northeastern side of India, right? You can run those simulations, you can do A/B testing on real platforms, and that's the power of agentic AI. Another example could be like a financial assistant agent. Okay, so how it can monitor, let's say financial reports, how it can flag anomalies, right? And maybe it can generate summaries of those anomalies. It can draft email to relevant stakeholders and maybe flag them that there is an anomaly, right? So that could be another example in the financial side of things. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Mai. I got carried away with all the examples. Yes, we have been talking about AI agents, how it can help with autonomy, perception, decision making, right? The importance, we talked about how automation and scalability, right? Real-time decision making, adaptability, and personalization, right? So, if now, when do you use, let's say, traditional AI versus AI agent? Okay, let's say you have a one-time task, then it should be a traditional AI. Okay, but let's say you have a workflow, you have a goal-driven workflow, then you can think of an AI agent, right? Let's say you have a user-driven, control, right? So some user experience driven, right? Then you can use AI tool. But let's say it's not user driven, you are not directing the user, and it is self-directed. The user can do anything, right? Then it can be an AI agent, right? So, all right. Yeah, a few questions are coming. Latest AI tools beneficial to different categories in routine. Please focus on them. Okay, let's. I kind of get what you're asking. Let's talk a little bit about that. Cost for one agentic AI deployment. Yes, so cost is not much, Samina. The only thing is, are you using the right use? Are you using agentic AI for the right use case? Right? Because you're basically automating here, right? So what would it cost to build an agent to send out emails? Right? What would it cost to build an agent that can summarize? You have summarizing models, right? So out of the box, you can just use them, right? So it's all about how you can visualize your use case, link them right to a business value, and then kind of iteratively scale them, right? So you can start with one task and then build an entire goal driven workflow around that, right? So common frameworks, tools, definitely we cannot get to that in the time that we have, right? But what we can say is, I can give you some more examples, right? Like for example, let's say you have a HR team and you want to start using agentic AI, right? So you can have an agent which can screen resumes, right? Another agent which it looks at the screen resumes and schedules interviews for those candidates, right? And and it will also maybe answer any policy related questions or how they can get to the venue, what are their role about, and things like that, right? So basically, instead of a human doing all that, now you have an agent, so you can expect this to be highly precise, highly automated, right? We talked about support agent examples, right? Why it matters? I know some of you have been asking about common frameworks, pitfalls, and things like that, right? See, one, you can look at productivity as an impact area, right? Your customer onboarding, compliance checks, right? Or you need to do a lot of decision making, right? Someone in the risk or compliance team does a lot of decision making. So you need to continuously learn from data, looking at, let's say, somebody uploads a document and the risk manager has to look at the data. So using an agentic AI here, it can start recommending optimal actions, right? It can kind of mature, and dynamically provide decision making, right? You can look at responsiveness, right? Someone wants has to operate 24/7 at optimal kind of cognitive load. You can start looking at agentic AI, right? So um, I'm just looking at some of the questions, seeing if we can address some of them. So where is the opportunity, right? So now a lot of leaders have been asking, like, where is the opportunity? One, the opportunity is in how you can redesign roles. It's basically a shift from task based jobs to more outcome based jobs, right? So you had people who were doing very task based jobs, so that's going to be redesigned. It will reshape your organization structure, right? There is going to be Gen AI. It'll be like, earlier it was, excuse me, automation first, mobile first is what we used to talk about. Now it's all about Gen AI first. How you can have virtual tutors, how you can have advisors, how you can have co-pilots, right? So that's where agentic AI is coming, right? So yeah, I mean, see, it's not for maturity that you are using Gen AI, right, Samita? It's basically about the application, the use case, right? So you're not, if your objective is to start building your own product on Gen AI, then that's a different ball game, right? So here we are talking about how we can have, solid, business cases, right, which has definite business value, right, which is has definite business outcome, right? What whether you can leverage Gen AI or use architectures and frameworks, right? I talked about RAG is one of the framework, right? Which you can use and leverage Gen AI, right? Great. So how do we get more? Like, I see a lot of you are more curious, right? More about more inquisitive about this, right? So obviously, you cannot jump the gun. You cannot talk about Gen AI and agentic AI out of the blue, right? So you need to have a very structured learning, right? So you need to talk about data. You should know, when I look at data, what is the mean, what is the median, right? You should know how can I summarize the four quartiles. You should know what is the whether the skewness of the data, is it right skewed, is it left skewed, right? What's the let's say distribution of the data, right? And once you know your data, you should know what are my labels, what are my features, should I use supervised learning or unsupervised learning, how can I use it for recommending, right? As a recommendation system, right? So all these are things that comes by structured learning, right? So that's where these programs will help, where you're basically learning from a net tech company like Great Learning, which is basically for providing you professional and higher education. Right. So there's all these testimonials that you can see, right? 15,000 plus career transitions and many more, so many million hours of learning delivered. And there's all these academic partnership that you can benefit from, right? So what is this program I'm talking about, right? So this is the AI for Leaders program, right? So this is basically very powerful because it's affiliated to a reputed global university, in this case UT Austin, right? So what do you get from this program? One, there's academic rigor, right? With executive relevance. You get cutting edge AI research and practical business insights from industry experts like myself. Right, you have the courses designed by great academicians, the latest and greatest in the field of AI. Right, I have a few names which I'll flash, shortly. Another thing is the credibility that you get, right? The global perspective you'll get, the peer learning, right? You have a guided and structured learning journey, right, which is very important. There is content, there is um, there is data, and you can learn this from a lot of platforms, but you, nowhere you get a curated content and which is paced for executive schedules, right? And this includes assignments, workshops, right? Projects, and even the what you can say, capstone project, right? So you build depth over time, right? And then there is the practical playbook, which is like how you can do actionable AI roadmap, right? How you can run pilots with measurable, ROIs, how you can scale responsibility responsibly, right? How you can identify AI use cases within your organizations, right? So all these are something that you will learn, through industry leaders, right? And then you can build how you can build cross-functional teams, how you can future-proof organizational capabilities using AI, right? Your capstone projects also give you some industry certifications, right? So it's great for pitching how you have developed and executed real AI projects to your leadership, right? And of course, there is the alumni network and lifelong learning that you can have access to, right? Who is this program for? It's for anybody who is designed for business leaders who are responsible for taking some decision within your respective products or services, right? So this is the faculty I was talking about. They are you can look up them, and they are some of the greatest academicians within this AI. So this program gives you a real world experience. There's EDA visualization, BFSI that you start with. Then you have real use cases like web scraping, sentiment analysis, right? Applications of AI, POCs are done, right? You will do market analysis for different industry domains. Right. Here are some testimonials. I'll just pause here for just a minute. You can read through some of these testimonials. And while you're reading this, there is the Google Doc link, which is put on upon the chat. So please use that link for any additional information, or if you want to get in touch, right? If you're interested and you want to learn more about this program, please use that link and you will be able to get in touch with us, right? So why we you need to enroll now? One, because AI is here and now, and you want to stay ahead. There's all these uh, you know, um, chance and opportunities that you can take advantage of. I would this one, it will be technical, but you don't need any technical background. You don't need to have any kind of coding background or a mathematics background, linear algebra background, differential calculus background. So the program will take care of that. There are boot camps. There are, the program will, as you, it's a step by step, carefully carefully crafted for for leaders like yourself, right? So you don't need any of those technical background, but by the end of the course you will be technically sound. You will be able to yeah, identify your associates who are technical sound and who are not. With that, we have come to the end of the session. We are at time, folks. I feel this was a very interactive session. I see there was a lot of good questions. Some of them I couldn't get to. I know there are some medical examples and applications that were asked. We couldn't get to that, but definitely these are beneficial for across domain, right? So hopefully you can take advantage of that, and hopefully you found this session useful, right? Great. And all of these will be an online session, right? And Suman, do ask all these questions, on using that link. And there will be folks who will be happy to answer this for you. Thank you so much. Right. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.